Good morning, it's Harvey Jackson. Just going to get through some of the news details here. China meets their 12 million metric ton commitment to the U.S., according to Reuters. Carney making deals with China and Qatar, countries that have long-standing issues as far as humanitarian rights, and yet we're going to make some deals there. And again, it's not to say that that's a bad thing, as we have some issues with dealing with the U.S. as we stand right now. But they still make up over 70% of the market here that we deal with. So here's the article. So they got to the 12 million. That, I guess the underlying question is, what are they going to do going forward? Because when you look at this, when they got the data dump just prior to Carney going to China, there's a data dump of Chinese data that they put out for exports and imports, and they're down 55% of normal imports, and they're up on the soybeans, but that all came from Brazil as of last year. So there's a lot of changes from one year to the next. They are growing more than they normally do in just about every other area than the soybeans. Brazil harvest is got 2%. According to Ag Rule. This is the article, and again, it's a little bit small, so I apologize, but I'll just read. But Canada is facing still economic dependency on the U.S., and down here it's talking about 70% of our exports are still going to the U.S., and in the article itself, they're actually talking about trying to double everything that doesn't go to the U.S. So, but that's going to take like multiple years to make that happen, even if we can get a friendliness with all these other countries. Carney did get mentioned in his visit to China. He's, there's a lot of talk of what he accomplished there. It sounds like EVs are going to be 49,000. I think I mentioned that yesterday. That will be coming into the country, and there will be some canola with a 15% tariff. Now we don't know what that looks like. As far as the purchases, they did get basically a sale yesterday, talking about a vessel going to get loaded at 60,000 metric tons. He is friendlying up to United Emirates, Thailand, Philippines, Saudi Arabia, and then India as well, as he's trying to cool down some of the tensions that his previous predecessor for the Liberals got in and kind of stirred it up with India there. India kind of got a little ticked off here. So you look at Macron there, they're trying to put some tariffs on wine and trying to put pressure on Macron. Here's some economic data. I thought it was just interesting. It came out yesterday, but here I am in Manitoba, and we have the highest consumer price index, faster pace than the rest of Canada even. And what's contributing to the main increases: food prices, rent, purchase of passenger vehicles, telephone services. So you can see that's what all kind of highlighted here. What decreased: gasoline, natural gas, homeowners, replacement costs, men's clothing, and travel accommodation went down as well. So in this, this is your GDP growth since 2016, and the reason I'm showing this is if we have GDP growth and we have 2% inflation going through all the way through this, and it's still 2% here, so you might as well say that we've got a 60% inflation cost as well. Like we talk about the 2%, but you look over this timeline, we've actually got a 60% kind of inflation. It's not the numbers the way you would normally draw it, but you can see that there's definitely inflationary costs to our products for sure. Looks drier in this area, but it's going to add moisture down there where it's needed. But they are getting some extreme weather down there too. They were getting some freezing in Florida. Could be affecting some of the crops down there, and Texas as well earlier on the week. Active weather, you can see some weather coming out of Alberta and Saskatchewan. Dryness in the 2-week forecast. Now, it only shows up in the last few days in the 2-week forecast, so that's all I'm showing here. But we keep on chasing that drought. China meal prices, I just converted it over to Canadian values, so you got 440 a ton, and this is the Bunge Altona price at 336. What's the cost to get there? I don't know, but we can keep a visual on this as well because there's nothing tracking these values here. Canola is up 440 to at 643. Rapeseed is up a buck. Soybean oil is basically unchanged at 52.66 after the break of Martin Luther King Day yesterday. Crude oil up 32 cents, just shy of the $60 barrel. Soybeans down 1.5 cents. Spring wheat is up a penny, and the hard red winter and your Chicago is down just a fractional penny as well. The Canadian dollar is on fire here, up 0.5. So just have a quick look here. You can see a pretty steady increase here of the of this move for rapeseed going up. It looks like it could be respecting the 200 day EMA, not your 200-day moving average or simple moving average, but maybe the 200-day EMA. We'll have to see how this all plays out here. That would take you all the way up to just shy of 650. Here's your November futures. It's actually currently trading right at that EMA value as well, right at the moment. Your European rapeseed is actually tailed off. It had a sharp increase. Now it's tailed off. That price differential is $115 difference between European rapeseed and Canadian canola, priced in Canadian dollars at 115. Soybean oil futures, these last couple of peaks that we had back in November, December, we're currently trading right at it here. For canola to have any more life, you probably need that to get moving above that value for sure. We'll have to see if it can continue to do that. Here's your soybean futures, a few green days here, looking good, but we did make a low earlier last week, similar to these values that we saw back here. Crude palm oil, your crude futures made a high and pulled back off of there. And it's green today, but it's below the $60 barrel. Here's your, the diesel fuel futures is on a rise here. And it could be because of this here. The Eastern Seaboard is looking like it's going to get some more extreme weather, and when that happens, the diesel fuel futures go up because that's what they still have a lot of heating with diesel over there for a lot of the residents there. So the Canadian dollar just took a big jump here, half a cent, and you would say the opposite happened with the U.S. dollar index. But you can see gold is still on fire, making new highs. Same with silver. We're sitting at 95.5. Your copper futures pulled off, but your U.S. 10-year it took a gap actually higher. And what I'm showing here is this is the price differential, and that has actually widened out. And I think there's, here's just a explanation of the steep yield curve, inverted yield curve. So it was inverted before, but it's looking like there could be pricing in better economic times going forward, but we have to be careful with that statement. And that's all I have for you today.